Let's talk to Rupert Lowe, see if he's got any cheer for us. Rupert, very good morning to you.
Morning, Mike. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. Buoyed as ever by the great news about what the government's doing to stop the illegal migrants coming here. As of yet, their plans, sadly, are in vain.
Well, as you and I know, until there's a will to achieve some sort of outcome here, then the border taxi service will carry on bringing them onshore in ever greater numbers.
Yes. Well, and we have another record to celebrate, you know, now the biggest ever number per vessel, 52 at a time they're coming.
It is sad because obviously, as you and I agree, the first thing that should happen is that they should be sent back, which we can do under our current treaties, but we don't do that. The second thing we need to do is actually get some form of government organisation which processes the applications quickly. And if they're not suitable for settlement here, then they need to go straight back to where they came from, right, particularly if they're Albanian or something. But we've got 166,000 outstanding claims for asylum here from people who've come here illegally. At the end of the day, it's very unfair on those people who are trying to come here legally.
Right.
It stops us basically ensuring that we bring people here who are actually going to add something to our economy. So this is an extraordinary situation, which, given the fact that, you know, as a result of Brexit, we're a sovereign nation with an 80-seat majority, and we should, in theory, have control of our own borders, it's very depressing to watch this getting worse and worse.
Yeah, it really is. Because don't forget, by the end of this year, it won't be 160,000, it'll be 200,000, maybe 200,000 plus people who are on that waiting list. Because I always ask the question as well, it's all very well when people say, what we've got to do is start processing these claims quicker. Yeah, well, fine, but what happens if you process the claims and you find that most of these people are not eligible for asylum? What do you do then? Because we have no means at the moment of sending them anywhere.
Well, if they're not eligible, they should be sent straight back, Mike. But, you know, the Australians have got the model. They have a zero-tolerance policy. They turn the boats back and they basically process them offshore.
Yeah.
But, you know, we've got...
But do we know, for example, how many of those that they process offshore remain there, or whether they are processed and accepted and they go to Australia? What happens to the people that go to that offshore processing centre?
Well, if they've tried to come illegally, Mike, the Australians have a policy where they will not ever have a chance to resettle in Australia, because to come illegally means you basically it's one strike and you're out as far as coming legally. So they are effectively encouraged to apply legally. So those people who try and come illegally are sent to the processing centres and ultimately given an opportunity of either staying there or going back to where they came from.
Okay.
So, you know, that's really how it should be handled. But I feel for Suella Braverman. I think she's got the right instincts. But the problem is, as we know, that the civil service, which has grown like a weed since COVID, is just not fit for purpose. And we've got all these people who... you know, that they've got sort of slightly warped beliefs, and at the end of the day, they don't, I think, believe that we should be sending these people back. They actually have some view that it's okay to come here illegally and they should be allowed to settle, even if there's no reason for them to flee where they've come from.
Right. I mean, the bottom line, I think, for everybody in this country now is that it's all very well saying, yes, we are a welcoming country, but, you know, we also have to say, no, we haven't got any more space. We haven't got any more room, at the very least, until we process these people. And the reason most of them, when we're always told this by the lefties, that, you know, oh, well, most of them qualify. They qualify because they've been here so bloody long.
Well, exactly, Mike. And the 395 hotels that are now full of these people, they aren't working, they're not contributing, they're being paid pocket money, they're being funded by the British taxpayer, and what they're doing is they're clogging up the arteries of Britain, whether that's the health service, whether it's the schools. They're actually being treated as if they're welcome visitors. And, you know, I was reading about the ship this morning that we spent a fortune, the taxpayers spent a fortune on it. I think, you know, on a cost per room basis, it's pretty prohibitive. But we're now waiting for some chap to sign off on the health and safety situation. It's a bit like, you know, the stables here. We're trying to build some new stables for Fergal O'Brien, and we've got to wait now for the drainage officer to decide that 700 feet up in the Cotswolds, we're not going to have a flood. Well, I said to them, if we get a flood here, Noah's making a comeback.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you better make sure you haven't got any great-crested newts knocking about up there as well.
Well, we have got great-crested newts, but fortunately they're far enough away that they're not going to cause a problem.
Right.
We've also got a few bats and all the other things that seem to be clogging up the arteries of productive Britain.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, I was once in a village in Wiltshire where I used to live, and a flood happened, and the whole village was flooded, and it turned out that the culvert that was kind of supposed to carry the water through had become silted up, and the council came and they looked at the culvert and I said, well, obviously it needs dredging, doesn't it? If you dredge it, that'll be fine. Oh, no, we can't dredge it. They said, we've got water voles in there. And I actually said to them, if I shoot the water voles, can we dredge it then? And they went, well, yeah.
Mike, most people have no idea. I mean, it's almost, you couldn't make it up, some of it. It's so extraordinary. And, I mean, the Tories, if only they understood that these people are, I think, almost by design, trying to stop the economy by putting up all these ridiculous reasons why people shouldn't build.
Yeah.
I mean, until they can unlock that, I think, we're in serious danger now of the economy, I think, tipping over hugely. As we know, Andrew Bailey and his merry men failed to put interest rates up in a timely way when inflation was flying. I actually think now they're going too far the other way. And if they do increase rates today, I think we're beginning to see a situation where the economy could suddenly implode. Yeah. Because what we've got is far too many unproductive people who are doing nothing, creating no wealth, basically sucking life and energy out of the economy.
But that's enough about the public sector.
People, it's a joke. On Twitter, I get people saying, well, they pay tax. I go, well, yeah.
But they don't understand economics. They only pay tax with the money we've already given them, for God's sake.
I know. And then you've got this smaller and smaller private sector that's supposed to sort of fight against all these regulations and the woke sort of agenda that we've got, the greenwashing, everything else. And, in the end, I think we're about to tip over. I mean, FTSE's been down 1% for the last couple of days. If rates go up, I think Bailey's going to go too far the other way. Yeah. And I think it's going to expose that there really isn't very much to the British economy now. There's not enough investment. There's not enough new young companies being formed.
Right. Well, when people talk about exports as well, and the actual, the sort of black and white paper exports actually look reasonable, but they're all mostly financial instruments and financial services, aren't they?
Well, again, the city's been hampered. I wrote an article, which I'm hoping will be published tomorrow, about the Howard Davis situation, where Howard Davis, interestingly, was chairman of the FSA. He came up with the 11 basic principles of regulation. Well, Alison Rose is in clear breach of 3 of those, which they reported through to the FCA and the PRA. And he and his board of nodding donkeys, as far as I can see, unanimously supported Alison Rose, even though she clearly breached 3 of these principles. Now, when I was in the city, the FCA and the PRA would instigate a full investigation for breaching 1 of them. Yes. And so far, they supported Alison Rose. Rishi Sunak then intervened, and quite rightly, she had to leave, as did Flavelle, the guy at Coots. Yeah. But Howard Davis is still there, and it's extraordinary. I think there's a sort of little cabal of these people who are almost untouchable, Mike. I mean, he, as chairman, presiding over his board of nodding donkeys who are supposed to be challenging, that's what the non-exec is supposed to do, to be breaching 3 of his basic principles that he drafted, which he described, I think, as the principles of regulation, to then stand by Alison Rose, it's quite extraordinary. Yeah. This is happening everywhere. But the story you sent me this morning that I had to pinch myself to decide whether it was April the 1st was the one about the Falkland Islands. I thought, I just can't believe that with a population of 3,700, they're going to employ somebody on £43,000 a year, but worst of all, 41 days holiday. I mean, who gets 41 days holiday?
It's incredible. Well, you'll probably find, actually, that the public sector get 41 days holiday. Certainly the teachers do. I wouldn't be surprised if people in the NHS get them as well. But this is the thing, what they're going to do when they get down there, when they start investigating gender equality, they're going to find there's more sheep than there are people, and the sheep tend to be only from one or two genders. They're not really more than that, are they?
Well, maybe they think the Falkland Islands are people who've got their feet firmly on the ground and they need some sort of brainwashing from a £43,000 a year woke
Yes.
op.
I mean, no doubt the report will say that it's not very diverse, that everybody's white and, you know, they're a bit sort of, shall we say, unwoke. I would imagine that's what they're going to find.
Well, we better watch out, or if we're not careful, they'll decide they want to go back to the Falkland Islands. You know, it's go back to Argentina, which is very welcome, wouldn't it?
That would be interesting, yeah. Well, listen, Rupert, good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Rupert Lowe, former Brexit Party MEP, businessman, a man tormented by planning regulations, as many people are. It is ridiculous, isn't it, out there? Sometimes trying just to get by, trying to do your job, trying to do what you want to do on a daily basis, getting stymied everywhere you go by, you know, traffic regulations, by, you know, speed cameras, by parking wardens, by council planners, by, you know, basically jobsworths who make your life a misery. It's ridiculous. It really is. Coming up, we're going to tell you what the latest news is on the bear. Is it a man? Is it a bear? Is it a man in a bear suit? We'll find out. Coming next.